Inventory management and physical inventory. There's a transaction code, and that is MIGO, MIGO, and this is the specific settings that we have to do for that specific transaction. Now this is settings, and field selection is specifically if you want to make any specific field required or optional. SAP has a concept of movement types. Any kind of material movement that happens in the system is actually handled by the concept of movement type. Now, whether the material moves into the storage, it moves out of the storage, it goes anywhere, it will be having a movement number, a 3-digit movement number that will be assigned. With that, we have goods issue and transfer postings. Now, there's a concept called account assignment. Now, what's that? If you're posting a purchasing transaction and you are wanting to do any financial aspect entry, for example, in production industry, we have procurement of raw materials, but we want to add them to a specific cost center. That concept is known as account assignment. Okay. To explain that, the concept of account assignment, there's a T code. Please remember that always. The T code is OKB9. It's a very important T code. Why? You must be thinking, okay, how can an organization set up the specific posting of a cost center or a profit center to a specific transaction? For example, you have a plant and you have raw material coming in, or you have any material coming in, you want to charge that as a cost, as part of the PO. Okay? The question is raised in the mind. How do you do that? This is a transaction where you do that. How? Press enter. It says default account assignment. Here you have the direct and indirect expense account, and here you have the cost center, and of course the profit center. These are both cost elements. There are 4 things in SAP. One is a primary cost element, secondary cost element, and then we have the cost center and the profit center. What's the use of it? The use of it is the cost center and profit center is for internal reporting. What shows in the financial statements are the primary cost element and the secondary cost element. The primary cost element is for direct postings, cost of sales, the sales transactions directly. That is cost element primary, that will be part of the profit and loss statement. Then we have secondary cost elements. Secondary cost elements are actually part of cost clustering. Why? Because, for example, you have production going on of a certain material. Now you want to allocate the cost to that material. You want to say that, okay, whenever the production happens, during the production order, we want to collect the costs against that. And we want a specific cost center to act on it. So this is the place where that assignment happens. What it means to say here is, if I go in here, it says the normal movement type, the usual movement type that we have in the system, it says for specific movement types, if you want, you can set up manual account assignment. That means the system will override this. Even if the cost center is assigned here, the system will override the function. And when that movement type happens, the system allows us to direct to the specific cost centers of our liking. We can change it. Now, okay, next is screen layout. The screen layout again, this is as per each movement type. If we want to change the display of the MIGO transaction, we can do that by going inside and changing the behavior specifically. This is specific to movement type. Whenever that movement comes part of MIGO, but if you are saying in a proper way, then yes, we have this here. Here we have all the fields of the MIGO transaction. MIGO means MIGO. So if you want to make any field required, optional, we can make the selection. This again is to be decided with the client and checked. Okay, so we go back and we have this is scope of availability check. What is availability check? Can you please comment anything that comes to the mind? What do you mean? What do you think it should be the meaning? It would be the meaning of availability check.
Item availability check.
What do you think it is?
Because items available or not.
You're tracking the items.
Not tracking. And anything else that comes to mind?
Stock availability.
You got a stock of a material. A sales order comes in, or a production order comes in. This is availability check. The system triggers automatically. Okay, do we have the stock? That is availability check. Now you must be thinking, well, okay, it's a simple thing. No, it's not. What kind of material are we looking into? What are the stock levels? Do we have a safety stock level for a specific material? Is it a specific material type? What kind of material is what kind of transaction are we having? Any specific document type? Any specific process? For example, in production, we have routings. So in semi-finished goods, as for routing, you have a specific material type for specific settings for a semi-finished material type, and you want the system to have a specific pattern of availability check. This is the rule that controls it. Availability check is so important, so important. You have in the materials management book, you will see the chapter. It's so important because it is the mechanism by which the system checks. Okay, do we have the material or not? Do we actually have it with us or not? So this is the time. And here it is. Okay. What does it say? Now we have two things. A, warning message only issued in case of non-availability. B, error message in case of non-availability. E, message in case, warning message for non-availability, otherwise simple message. Error message in case of non-availability, otherwise simple message. Availability check only with simulation. Simple. The point I'm trying to make is these are different movement types. This is pipeline. This is pipe oil and gas, pipeline, pipeline. You see the pipeline word a lot here. Now, what it means to say, it says value updating and quantity updating. Now, the system is going to check. At this point, warning message. Warning message. It's going for a warning message. By default, error message is not set up. Means the system gives a message that, okay, we do not have the material in stock. It says goods issue cost center from consignment. That means if there's a consignment item, we're moving it forward, the system checks, okay, is the material with us or not? That's the point. So what I'm trying to explain is to understand this, you will need some theory. Please do one thing. Go online today and search for availability check in SAP. And you will find SAP help portal link, which will detail everything, how this works. Because this has some theoretical background. You need to cover that. It's, however I explain, you need that theory. Okay, go to checking rule. Now, these are checking rules. You can define your own, of course. This is for the sales order. If there's a sales order coming in, how should the system behave for the availability check? If there is any delivery going on, how should the system behave? If there is any consignment goods order, how should the system behave? You need to tell the system how to behave in case of a sales transaction. Okay? You're the one to set up the behavior here. So go back and now let's go for the define and let's explore checking rule. Let's say this one. Now, We define the 3-character checking rule here, and now we have some sections. Let's explore each of them. What does it mean? I'll explain. Stocks. With safety stock, with stock in transfer, with quality inspection. What does it actually mean? In the availability check, you need to assign the check mark. If we assign these check marks in the first one, if we check this mark, the system looks into the safety stock. But it has a meaning. This means that the system has the access to safety stock, and the availability check will say, okay, we have safety stock available, you can use it for the transaction. So do you think safety stock should be allowed?
No.
That's the point. Stock in transfer. Stock is being transferred from one plant to the other. For the time being, when there is a sales order, the system says, okay, this material is in transfer, we can use it. Should the system use it?
No.
Quality inspection. Stocking the quality. Should it be used? This is transaction specific. If there is quality inspection requirement, check this mark. If there is stock in transfer, there is availability check requirement at another plant where the stock is arriving. Stock in transfer. If we have a safety stock level for production, there is a production process going on. For some reason, we just require the material immediately. We are going to unlock the safety stock and get the stock. Check this mark. Define the rule. Next, restricted use. For some reason, we have restricted the use of stock, but under some conditions, we say, okay, as per this checking rule, we can use this stock. Check this mark. Block stock is not in use, but for some way, we want the availability check to go inside and check for the block stock and grab the material out of it. Check this mark. This section is that which kind of stock should the checking rule check into. We use them, select them as per our requirement. This section. Now, it's a very detailed screen. Requirements, with sales requirements, with deliveries. Now, scope of documents. This says with sales requirements, billing document, delivery document. We have the sales order document. So the system should check. If I select this one and not this one, the system will be allowed to check for the billing and the sales order, but not for the deliveries. Now it says with deliveries, with stock transport requirements excluded. If the stock is in transit, we do not include it in the checking in the availability check. In case we have production plants separate, raw materials separate, finished goods separate, then we include it. Why? What do you think? I just said if we have separate plants for production operations, one plant handles raw material, one plant handles production. Why should we?
Because it's already there, right?
Exactly. Now we have reservations. Committed. For example, you got a material, 10 quantities of an item. The quantity is 10, and the item is in stock. The sales order comes in. Now you've got it reserved for another order. The quantity, 80 units of quantity are already committed in a transaction. Another order comes in. Now, what's the date today? So, for example, the sales order, one sales order is for 25th. This was committed. Another sales order comes in. You committed stock 8 for it. Another comes in on 23rd. For 23rd. Now, this is where things get complicated. Here you have 8, you have remaining 2. This requires 5. This is where reservations come into play. Should you be allowed to move the already reserved stock for the 25th, for the 23rd? I'm just saying, this is controllable for this. If we check this mark, the system checks into an already reserved stock. Now, if we move this stock, we have a big problem. We need to replenish that. That's where MRP comes in. So it's all overlapped, connected. And let me explain the transaction again. You see, I said on 25th we have a sales order with 8 quantity. Okay, the remaining stock is 2. But on the 23rd, you have another requirement where we have 5 requirements. So out of this, if we check this mark, the system will check this 8 and tell, okay, we have already reserved stock for 8 quantity. We can move the stock out, the 3 units out of it, plus the 2, and we can fulfill the order. Now this is a specific scenario where you allow the system to look into the reservations. Any questions there? The checking rule configuration is the third most important for you because of the fact that it overlaps with all the major industries, pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, retail, everywhere, because this is where you control how the system behaves in checking the stock. If you do this configuration properly, as per the requirements, it'll be fine. If you make a mistake here, the scope of the check will be wrong. And maybe they would have said that, okay, no safety stocks are allowed, but you checked it. That's the point. Okay. Replenishment lead time. Now this is as part of the vendor. If you have entered lead time, if we select this, then the system stops taking into account the lead time date you have entered in the material master, in the vendor master. It won't. There's a manufacturing practice. We call it high frequency manufacturing. In high frequency manufacturing, we check this mark. Why? What do you think? Yes, but there's also another thing. In high frequency manufacturing, the manufacturing has operational risk because why do we call it high frequency manufacturing? Is that those are the companies that design sophisticated parts and machinery that are a requirement of further industries. So it's like they work 24 hours. 24/7, always working. Production rate is always, they can adjust the rate of production, but the machinery never stops. Means the average timing is like this. Production runs for 3 months and shut down for 1 week. Runs for 6 months, shut down for 1 week, like that. So there, we don't have any time. Because there is stock monitoring happening all the time, and always there is material coming in. That's the only thing. Otherwise, we don't check this mark. Specifically, if we have, in the process industry, this is very specific. If there is, and yes, are you familiar with demand and supply planning? Yes or no? Have you heard about the demand and supply curve?
Of course.
Okay. Demand and supply curve states that if your demand increases more than your supply, turn this off. We have a module in SAP called PPDS, Production Planning, Demand Scheduling. It used to be called SAP APO. If you have heard the name, it is the old name that was called SAP APO, which has been deprecated. Now it is called PPDS. It's a specific module for production planning. In there, we actually turn this off, but we create control keys for scheduling where the production manager is responsible for adjusting the MRP calculations as per the changing demand. Because you create formulas, you create MRP calculations yourself, and when the demand increases for the raw material, you have to implement that in an overnight. Maybe for 1 week, then you have to come back. So this is like that. Now, special scenarios. Without certification check, no subcontracting. This is a scenario in which we would say, okay, this is this is a very simple point. What do you think this means?
Without checking the plant, the storage location, right? Like, you don't care about where the storage location of the items.
Whether it's, you take from the 10th storage or 5th storage, check this mark, it will check everywhere. Otherwise, it will be specific, yes. Subcontracting. Subcontracting is part of manufacturing, where you have a third-party vendor who does the manufacturing for you. You send them the material, then you receive it back. So that is subcontract. You have to, then you charge the vendor, then the vendor charges you for that. So if we select this, then the system will not check into subcontracted stock. This is relevant for the production industry a lot. Because if we have subcontract stock, we can't say that we have to have material because we don't have it. It's already with the vendor. Anyway, any question here up till now? There's a complete chapter on this in the book, in Materials Management Configuration Guide. It contains a lot of theory, a lot. It's not a simple topic. It has a lot of theory. Please read that chapter. Future supply with requisitions. Now, this is forecast. So, should it look into the existing PRs? We don't have that quantity. What do you think? What kind of industry would rely on this, and what kind of industry would not? What do you think?
Which one?
This one. What do you think?
Normally we do this in retail purchase requisitions.
Hmm? Let me explain. In the manufacturing industry, if you are working in the process manufacturing industry, you need to look at your production cycle. If the production cycle is equivalent or above the demand, again, if it is above or equal to the demand, you do not allow the look or the availability checks go into the purchase acquisition. Why? Because the requisition means the stock never arrived in the correct premises. It's never there. It does not exist. But if the production rate is low, then the demand, then you do. Because it affects the demand and supply curve. So when you do that, there is one risk involved in this. What is it? You have to make sure that the lead times are very precise. Because you make a mistake there, you won't be able to deliver on time to the customer. That's why it is very risky. Now it says two options. For stock transport order, use order quantity. For stock transport order, use confirmed quantity. What's the difference? In this case, the product didn't come in, it's an order. In this case, it's confirmed, it's with us. That is the difference. Then we have shipping notifications. It's called ASN, Advanced Shipping Notification. It's API functionality, and it's part of the EDI function. What is EDI? We have two things in SAP called EDI and DME. EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange. DME stands for Data Medium Exchange. What's it for? EDI is actually the connection that you have with the system directly, where the shipment is directly connected. Whenever the shipment arrives, the system sends out a message. That's advanced shipping notification. It's an API integration. It says, for availability check of the material, should we include the shipping notifications? When the material came in shipping, even if it hasn't arrived at the warehouse, what do you think? Should we include that? This is relevant for retail. How? For example, you have a chain store. Certain material is required at a certain store. The material just arrived at the port. It's required at the warehouse. So what do you think? Should the material be shipped to the head office and then moved, or directly from there? What do you think? What do you think? Yes. That's so basically it's the checking rule where you set up the scope of how the availability check in the system will happen. Once you set it up, it's all done. And we go down, delayed supply. Show message for delayed supply. If we select this, then the system will say, okay, the supply of the material is delayed. So the availability check, it says, okay, this much quantity we have, but this much is in delayed supply, it's not coming up properly. Because availability check, it says without receipts in past. If we check this mark, then the date of your current requirement, the system will not check the goods receipts in the past on that date. This will actually be relevant for the FMCG industry, fast moving consumer goods, where a product has expiration dates. Any question here, please ask me.
So far, so good.
Missing parts processing. This is for plant maintenance. Basically, you have spare parts coming in. So you want to check the availability. How many months in the past should the system check for the receipts? This is how you enter. If you keep it empty, it's unlimited. If you enter a number, that's the number of months it's going to check for. Now these are system defined, but if you want to, you can define your own. It's not a fixed thing you can define. But the reason I explained each of the field is you will have different scenarios, and as per those scenarios, you will be defining them, or you could have your default checking rules, but you need to have an understanding, because the definition of the checking rule is the responsibility of the MM consultant. Whether the SD department, whether sales department, whether the warehousing, whether production, they are going to come down to you. Please please do the configuration for that. You need to know what kind of scenario they have, what are their requirements. Against that, you have to set it up. Any question here? So are you serious in moving into the procurement field? Because this is relevant to that. You are wanting to move into the field of sourcing and procurement? Yes, okay. You're not, yes.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. But the point is, this is a very important point. Why? Because the checking rule controls how the system will be checking for the stock that we have. If we make a mistake here, we can't blame the system that is doing a wrong check. You can check the default one, like what example we just shown here. This is system default. This is a MIGO transaction. Checking the design that will be used for the MIGO. Okay. What is physical inventory document? Physical inventory document is created for inventory audit. If we select this mark, then whenever there's MIGO, the system will also generate a physical inventory document record. Okay, this inventory item or good moved into the warehouse. That's what it means actually. This is a specific requirement, and if we want, we can actually enable negative stocks. What's the use of negative stocks? It's supposed to be handled very carefully. Why? Because when you allow negative stocks, you are allowing the system to fulfill the demand even if the stock is not available.
Yeah.
That is a big problem. What do you think is a big problem?
Because it's very prevalent actually in retail, because sometimes what happens is there's a stock that comes to the store.
Yeah.
It's way, like whatever, let's say like 10 perfumes came.
Mm-hmm.
The people in the system who are capturing the data only capture 9, although physically we have 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the 9 gets sold, the system's now, okay, 0. However, they sell the extra one that's already there, and the system
-1.
shows -1. So later on, finance,
Yes.
financials will get corrupted normally. It's
Exactly.
a very big pain.
Yeah.
When you're checking,
There's
loss.
There's another scenario. For example, there's a construction project going on. Let's take the example of a building. It's a commercial building, 70 floors. Now, the contractor was assigned the construction, and the contractor said, okay, I have term-based supply. The supplier is going to send the cement and the concrete, and everything is coming in, the specific materials and everything, building materials and everything. Now, when we are doing costing and checking how the goods are moving into the system, that is also the scenario where we allow this. Why? Because if we require,
If you could just come
Just-
for 5 minutes.
could you give me just
No problem.
2 minutes?
No problem. everything okay?
Yeah, there was an inquiry with the sales. There is, please remember this. These check marks mean that for which of these do we want negative stocks? Should it be for the PS module? Should it be sales? Should it be return packaging at customer? This is for maintenance. Customer consignment, vendor consignment, returnable packaging stocks, and with that stocks of material with vendor means you never store the material with you. The stock remains with the vendor. So the point is negative. Okay. Negative stocks. It's an important functionality, but it depends upon what kind of transaction you're having. And mostly, openly speaking, mostly we use it in these two. Of course, for the retail, we have this. We check the smart, we allow it for that. But the point is, this is the area. You make the configuration here, negative stocks will be permitted. This is again a configuration screen, just to make the allowance of the configuration. If you want to allow, we can just select check mark. This is important because one thing very important. This is important because as per the industry scope, if you want to enable negative stocks, this is the starting point. Where you make the configuration, the system will allow the negative stock processing. Now, okay, I must ask you, how much have you read the book? How many pages? How much?
I'm in chapter 5.
Okay, Mr. Isam, you're reading also?
Yeah, I'm reading.
Okay, goods receipt. Again, this is specific to, this was goods issue and transfer postings. This was for receipt. Okay, if I just remember, it's all done in a single transaction. MIGO. Why am I saying that? Because these are all here. Different industries, different transactions. At first, in the past, there used to be different transactions for everything. But in S4HANA, SAP eliminated all of them. Only one, MIGO, is remaining. Everything needs to be done with MIGO. Everything. The same thing, there's no difference. The ones that we saw, to create purchase order automatically. This is related to the requisition. If the requisition is raised, the system raises the PO automatically. This is for that. If we select this mark for a specific movement type of the goods we have, then the system will raise the PO. That is the point. So we need to select 101 is the default goods receipt. Okay. So when we have goods moving into the storage, that is the movement type 101. Any question in availability check? Okay. And if we enable this, we have ERSA as the material type for parts. So if we are raising a plant maintenance BOM, bill of material, if there are parts missing, the system issues a notification. This is for that. MRP controller is the one that will be running the MRP. It will be the one responsible for that. Mail user is the one to whom you will be sending out the email. when the MRP runs. Email configuration is a separate thing in SAP. You can create email forwarding. Means if something comes to the mind, can the system automatically send an email to the customer or the vendor for any PO raised? Yes, it's configurable. It's basis based, but it's configurable. Okay. Now it says, do you want to allow reversal of the goods receipt? Even if invoice receipt came, then yes, you can select in any case. This is the most common one, goods receipt for PO reversal. Normally it's not allowed, but as per requirement, we can check this one. How much price difference? It says price difference for goods receipt for in subcontracting for valuation areas. Subcontracted stock comes in. The PO price and the subcontracted stock is different. Should we allow the difference or not? You raised the PO with the vendor for subcontracted stock. Okay, the PO was raised. When the goods receipt came, you changed the value of the material. If you do not check this mark, the system will not allow the receipt. So if an error message is received by the team, they will say, okay, how can we control? This is a check mark. This single check mark will make the operation available or not. This is the usual task of an MM consultant, because you will be the one who say, okay, sir, we have to go down and do this. So this is the path. Now, what does it mean? This specific activity, this activate storage of incoming documents. What does it mean? The system, should the system mention storage for each movement type or specific? Means when you select MIGO, then it says whatever the movement type, the system will notify, okay, the movement happened in this storage. Or do we want to keep the information not on the transaction basis or specific movement type? This is where it comes in. Okay, what's the use of this? In the engineering change management industry, the engineers who work on the plant, they need to know who ordered which part in the plant for maintenance and it is located at which store. They need to see that on the document. For them, this has been added. Otherwise, we don't need it. Other industries don't require it. No. Automatic movements. This is for tax. What's important in specific countries, if there is specific tax procedure for specific material, that this material will be charged this much tax, this one, which that's the complex scenarios we have. Reservation. Again, the scope of availability check. Again, it's coming down back and forth here and again and again. This is for how many days? For how many days should the retention be? It's for 30 days. Days movement allowed. After 10 days, if there is a requirement, this means that if there's a requirement, the system will allow the movement. Otherwise, the total retention is 30 days. After 30 days, the system will automatically release the stock. Do you understand this or no? Please tell me. There are two things, movement allowed and retention. Did you understand this? Movement allowed means after 10 days, if there's a document raised, the system will move the stock out of it. If no document was raised for 30 days, it will automatically release back to storage. That's the point. This automatically MARD segment, this is the table for storage, MARD table. What does it like? It's a technical explanation. Let me explain that to you. Okay, if we select this, and then in the master record of the material, the information is already updated. That this stock is reserved or not. That's it. This is again master data relevant because the team that is working on the master data, should they be informed in the material master or not? If they are supposed to be, we check the mark. So in the material master, the system updates automatically. Batch input is actually, there are two things in SAP. One is job, one is batch input. Batch input is a trigger system, technically, where you can trigger a certain transaction code over a period of time. And the system starts, keeps on working. That's what the use of batch input is. It's automation. Physical inventory. Serial number, just it says at every physical inventory check, there's a change document. The material record will have everything written as a document. Okay, on this date, this change happened to the material. On this, every time a change happens, the system adds a line. Okay. Should I move through this faster? What do you think?
No, it's okay. The piece of points fine.
Okay, now this is very important. This is very important. Why? Because should we stop the stock movement when inventory audit is going on? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then we check this mark. If we do not check this mark, the system will not stop. It will freeze the movement when you check this mark. How much inventory difference postings should we allow? Now, why is it important? You want to you want to keep things in check. Okay, how much difference can be posted for materials? How much quantity difference? 10 units, 5 units, 100 units. This is for the total document. If the document contains 5 materials, the total quantity difference of them. This is an example one. Do you understand what it means? Would you have been in any inventory audit ever? You have?
No.
What do you think inventory audit is? Please tell me.
Checking quantities and everything, right?
Hmm?
Everything is proper.
No. There's a specific meaning behind it. Try to think. What do you think should be the reason? You both married?
Yeah.
Your family's here? Your family's here. Think of a scenario. You're in India. You're from India. You're back home.
Pakistan.
Yeah, I'm from Pakistan.
Me too.
You're from Ethiopia. I was going to ask you which city. Soft. Okay.
You're from Peshawar, right?
I'm from Lahore.
Yeah.
Lahore, Punjab.
No.
No, when he said, I understood. I'm laughing because I know what he meant. I'm laughing, okay. Anyways, what's inventory audit? It's the end of the month, and your warehouse in the house gets an audit check. And you raise a question. This was the quantity we brought. How come this much has been used? Yes, that's an audit.
Somebody is misusing.
You can't say that. Not in the house. You can't say that. But the point is, if you have stock coming in, the quantity coming in, the quantity sold, you want to verify the exact quantity with the one that you have in stock. There shouldn't be a difference. What it's saying is how much difference is allowed to be posted. Because above that, the system will block the physical inventory document posting. Above that, the system will not allow the difference to be posted. This much control. You must be thinking, this much control on everything. Okay. Is that inventory sampling is for quality module, and inventory sampling is that if you want to move the stock for quality checks, then this is where we do it. We want to move, we can move it for the quality checks. Okay, and cycle counting. Now, how many cycles do we want? That's we want to mention 3, 12. If you want 12 every month, one is allowed. Okay. Flow time is the number of days. If we have missed inventory stock cycle check, then the number of days past that end of the month, the system is still waiting for you to do the check. After this many days, you cannot register the physical movement check. It will be registered the next month. That's what the flow time is. Percentage of the stock. How many of the total stock? What's the percentage of the stock do you want to do inventory check on? Do you want to check the whole inventory, or do you want to check specific amount? Yeah. So much control. Yeah.
So many configurations.
Yeah. You're learning the most sophisticated ERP system in the world. Well, just a moment. Oh my God. So we have this and consumption differences. What does it mean? There's production happening. There is waste. This much raw material went in. Only this much came out. That's consumption difference. So if you want to allow, we can allow that. This distribution actually is cost distribution for product cost controlling. This is a move. Now, if something comes to your mind, can we create our own movement type? Yes, we can. It's a very long list. Go to movement type. Show complete list. I think 300. These are the movement types. Each of them have specific text, allow transactions, everything. So, what I mean to say is, there is quite much control in the system for everything. You as the MM consultant will be responsible for all these tasks. If there is anything that goes on and off at the back end of the system, you'll be the one responsible, you'll be the one taking care of it. Output determination. How will the system determine the stock? This is stock determination, and then of course, this is the output determination. Now, whenever there's a requirement in the system automatically determines the stock for that. But if we want to determine stock in a specific scenario, then we will need to define tables upon which we can actually define, okay, upon what criteria should the inventory movement happen? How should the system select the stock to be moved out? For that, we need specific fields, specific condition tables. So when we are raising a PO, when we are raising a goods receipt, goods issue document system, we'll actually determine that this is output determination. There is there's a chapter on that, just to give you the theory of it. This is determination, okay. Inventory management output is text that's created at the time of goods movement. This is called out such as goods receipt slips, labels, Kanban cards, mail, so messages. So whenever something happens, how should the system produce a notification? This is what it is. The slip should contain this much text, this much goods record. When the slip stock moves in with this stock, with this stock, so you can set it up. So whenever the specific thing happens, the system produces a specific amount of text. These are, of course, the forms. For you will have to. Then we have assignment and printer determination, of course. Okay, stock determination. This is specific for general, external, and of course, on another one. That's for the. This determination rule is for two things: for consignment and external procurement. That's it. Now, why is it important? If in the company you have two kinds of stock, you have consignment stock and you have other stock. You need to define this configuration because you don't want to release the consignment stock without check. You would always want to release the stock that is for external procurement because the consignment stock is not yours. Yes, that's why we have stock determination. That's the reason. This is now specific to the different one. It means for production order, for pull list, this is for, again, repetitive manufacturing. Kanban is a specific manufacturing practice. Are you familiar with Kanban? Kanban is a card system. Process cards, okay? This is in raw material stage. Now in transition, like that. So there are cards that you place it, okay? Card, the material is on this stage, one card. Next stage, card number 2. Third stage, fourth stage, like that. That's Kanban. Okay. We have completed this section. Please read the book. Availability check is very, very, very important. Okay. Stock determination. Again, the MM book is, if you're reading in sequence, it's fine, but you can move to and fro, back and forth in different chapters. Please read. I will be sharing as we move forward now. I will be sharing the helping documents that you will be needing them. I will also be sharing. Okay, we will have to have a session on LinkedIn and CV. How do you have to design the CV? How do you have to approach your LinkedIn? How do you have to do what are the interview questions for MM? How do you approach them? I will be conducting a mock interview also to check how you actually acted the interview. Okay, so we will have a session on Friday. Inshallah. So next we will be starting valuation of account assignment. It's a bit of this is FI and MM integration. I hope you were able to understand up till now. Okay. So we will end the session at this point. Please see the session and get back to me, investors.